Hello.
Oh. Come on, Facebook. Videos. Bring this up to the chat.
Want to wait for you to go? Video is going. There's no one here yet.
No, everyone is still waiting to come in. That's okay. We can start. We can. Oh, we have our first.
Hello.
We have a hello.
Hi.
Hello, Azzy.
Hello.
Hello. Hello to everybody. Whenever everyone sets to watch this, hello to the people in the future who are watching this when we're not live. Do a quick rundown of introductions in case anybody, for some reason, doesn't know who we are.
Yeah. Go for it.
You give me too much power. Azzy says that she's the party, and she's right. Hi, we're Words After Dark. We're a bunch of independent authors who do independent author things like writing and publishing and conventions and all that kind of junk. My name is Mouse. I write a lot of fantasy books. I also talk a lot, so someone else say something.
My name is Alexa Windsor. I am currently trying to post to social media the link to this thing. But I am also an independent author. I write horror and mystery.
You can tell that Alexa is social media savvy because of the eyeshadow. Can you hear us, by the way? Chat. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear us?
I see four faces in chat.
Oh, okay, you just pulled it up.
Chat, are we talking to nobody?
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Bless
Now
you.
look at the camera.
Okay, down there.
We're not used to looking at the camera because we don't spend a lot of time in front of cameras.
Don't
So
look
like,
at your
whatever.
face, look at the camera.
It's just really distracting.
It's really distracting. We have our own faces up on the screen. So
It's difficult.
we can hide that. if
You
we
are
want.
the only one who hasn't introduced yourself.
I am Ace Layton.
Oh.
I'm also an independent author, fantasy author.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there is to say about me.
General person who suffers while drafting novels.
That's me.
So yeah, we have like fancy news and updates and that kind of stuff, and we'll do a Q&A like we usually do.
Yeah.
You know, all those normal things, that we do when we do one of these live streams. First news is we're getting a new website.
Yes,
We are getting a new website. And this new website will allow you to buy things from us. Directly from us, which means that you can get signed merch if you're a person who wants signed merch and doesn't want to get it off Amazon. But yeah, that's in the works. I want to say that we'll have it up soon, but NaNoWriMo is coming up, so we're not going to have it up soon. We'll have it up probably by Christmas. Just being honest with ourselves and each other about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, soon. New website. You buy things. It also means that you'll be able to buy merch and stuff from us. So all of you who can't make it to cons who still want to get stuff, you will soon have a way to do that. We're thinking of you.
Mm-hmm. You can already buy things like mugs and T-shirts, I think.
We do. We have a cafe press.
Yeah.
We do?
It's linked on the website. We do have a cafe press.
We do. I don't know. I know we do.
I thought you were asking me. I was like,
No.
yes.
Because there's somebody in chat who...
Yeah, there's someone in chat who has a WAD t-shirt. So thank you. Repping the squad. What else is there? We have new merch. We have new beautiful merch for upcoming cons. We now have beautiful fish lesbian posters for those of you waiting for the fish lesbian project.
Fish and lesbians.
Yes.
We have bookmarks for the Melancholia series, for the Highland Horizon series. We have the Lost Name posters that I think you guys saw last time. I don't remember when I had those printed, a while ago. But we have stuff. We're filling out our table. Somebody has beautiful dog stickers.
I have
Did you say table?
Yes.
Have you even...
I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know why I'm in the wrong order. Don't trust me with things.
I have Jesse stickers from All Bites and Hot Diggity Dog, and at least by December of this year, I want to have the April and Jennifer stickers from the April Gladys series available as well. As well as some
So
bookmarks.
the reason we are talking about all this merch is because we have a table, an artist table at Con Delete in
Yes.
December.
Yes.
So we'll be running our usual panels there, and we will also be running a table.
If you thought we weren't busy enough,
Mm-hmm.
well, let me tell you, yeah. We have an artist table at CAD. We will be there all 3 days. We will sell you things for less money than you can get them on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
We will sign things for you. We will talk to you about writing. We will do all of these things, and we will host panels, and you do not have to give us money to be at panels.
Oh, yeah.
You have to give the con money, but not us. But yeah, so those are all shiny, fantastic things that we're working on. I want to see as well something else. That's all the merch, appearance, etc. related updates. The other thing I was going to bring up is Nano starting.
Mhm.
It's October. It's
In a number of days.
anxiety season is upon us. So
Oh, I was going to say, if you live around the Milwaukee, Chicago area, these two usually attend a whole bunch of nano parties. If you're in the Michigan, Ann Arbor-ish area, you'll
Which I
find
think is
me at
just
some
you.
parties, which is just me.
Just you!
I am the master of the Ann Arbor WAD branch with a population of 1.
Obviously, you just need to collect more Ann Arbor.
Yes.
Yeah, we just have to find more Ann Arborians.
Yes. I'll
Makes them
tout our
sound like
stuff at
trees.
the
Yeah, we'll have to find you some Michiganites.
I'll tote our stuff at the nano parties, or you
Yeah.
know, the write-ins.
Collect some Michigan friends for you.
Yes.
But yeah, no, you'll find Ace and I will be at a lot of writing shenanigans. I'll be at Slightly Wrestling. I'll be at slightly less writing shenanigans this year
Once
than
I have
last
the
year.
advantage.
Yeah, because guess who has a job where they work nights? I can't say that on stream.
What?
I can't be like this bitch.
You just
You just
did.
did. Are
There's
we
no
able to
show down here.
scroll down over there?
I am
We can
watching
see
chat.
comments.
Oh,
I am
okay.
watching chat. Don't worry.
You cannot.
Mostly we have people saying hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, hi. And then we have Mika telling us how not prepared she is. Like me too. Like
That's my entire life right there.
it is what it is, y'all.
My outline has 9 chapters in it right now.
9 chapters and how many?
25.
I'm still finishing up, one book, and I have not even started my nano outline yet. So that's where I'm at.
What are we working on for Nano?
I am finishing up the Mothman story from last year. I found out the 50,000 words was like the first half of it, and so hopefully this year I'll be able to write and finish the second half.
Gotta give us that booty. We need the Mothman.
The Moth Booty.
We need the Mothman. So you're working on more Mothman content.
Yes.
That would be excellent.
And like I said before, I'm actually done with Lynn the Dog Attender now, so I'll have that at some point. If not published in December, then early next year.
And what is that for people who are not familiar?
So it is the 3rd book in the April Gladys Dog Walking Murder Mystery series. Main character is a dog walker, and it follows her shenanigans through life.
And the news
And
is
murder.
the only mystery series that I give a damn about. So, Tasha's complaining about the lack of a Mothman emoji. Like, we feel you.
Oh.
Get on it. Facebook, what the hell?
My pants are a perpetual Mothman emoji.
Yes, Alexa has Mothman pants. I think you can probably see them just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So yeah, I'm excited for Lynn the Dog Attender.
Mhm.
I'm hyped. And it's drafted,
Yes.
you said?
Yes, it is drafted.
So it just needs
It
revisions.
needs polishing. It needs a
Time
spit
to
shine.
edit.
Yes, editing.
Ooh, Mr. A. Slayton,
Yes.
what are you doing for now?
Writing a whole bunch of bisexual mercenaries. I'm starting a new series. The Wild series follows 2 different groups of mercenaries. as they strive to overthrow an awful government.
The government.
That is probably the most succinct way I've ever heard it summed up. Because
Yeah.
we've talked about the WAD series quite a bit, but
Yeah.
we've never
Summarized
Two groups
it.
of anarchists,
they really that's accurate.
as they go to overthrow a bad government. Lots of, I don't know, what is it? First book is a lot of trains, a lot of train hijacking,
I was gonna say a lot of what happens to trains.
blowing up. At least one train gets blown up.
Boom.
But yeah, it's good.
In my
fun.
mind, I have it now as bisexual trains.
Bisexual trains.
Hmm.
There's going to be a whole lot of cursing in the book, which is going to be very satisfying.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Well, especially because then you get to hit two birds with one stone, because when you're venting for NaNoWriMo, you can just fill it in with 50.
Yeah.
50,000 words of
50,000.
just straight up
Especially villain
cursing.
chapters are going to be pretty heavy on the first second.
So this book comes with a language warning.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Warning, explicit contents. Warnings for Rose and Meg.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
The protag finds out his dad is a train.
A bisexual train, if you ask Alexa. I'm really hyped for the WAD series because I know it's been on your mind a lot. And it has
It's
a
gonna
really...
be 5 books.
Yeah.
So.
That garbage 5-book structure that we've both fallen into
No, I
accidentally.
love it. I love
Actually, a
3-book
book is
structures
also
are
a 5-book structure.
it.
I have capped off. I'm planning to cap it off at 5 books.
I will read 5 books about a dog walker who conveniently finds dead bodies.
And then that's what I'm doing for Nano, and then I'm still editing Clear's Blue.
Yes, so Clear's Blue is on the back burner right now.
Yep.
Because in Nano, like you could edit for Nano, but it makes more sense to draft, I guess.
And I'm just really excited about this project. So.
And also, Disaster Bisexual is the novel.
Yeah.
No, I'm hyped for all of these things. Give them all to me.
What are you working on?
I'm working on a novel that is full of gays.
Just the way I like it.
I also, like, how is that different from anything else I've ever written? I'm working on Heart Thief. A bunch of rebels try and overthrow a corrupt god king. Everything in that sentence turns out to be wrong at one point. But that's what they start thinking. They're like, this is how it's gonna work, and then none of it works. So yeah, this is actually a relatively baby project. I want to say Heart Thief as an idea is like 9 months old, maybe a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as opposed to like Princess, which is like a 15-year-old book I haven't written yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's the plan. Depending on how Nano goes, I will hopefully draft Heart Thief. I do not expect to do what I did last year.
And write 2 at one, in one.
Yes.
Mouse overachieved last year and wrote 100,000 words.
I don't know that I will ever manage that again in my life. If somehow I manage to do that, I'll be finishing off Melancholy Theory during Nano, and if not, I'll just finish it after.
The way to get Mouse, people who are doing Nano in WAD chat, the way to get Mouse to write 100,000 words is to write 75,000 words, and then Mouse will feel the need. They're slightly competitive.
You can't just call me out in front of these people.
I can.
You can't
I
do it.
just did.
That's rude. I am slightly competitive. Which is funny because I'm a person who's competitive who loses at those competitions all the time.
Not when it comes to Nano. Man.
If you feel intimidated by Mouse, just remember that I usually do classic NaNoWriMo, and you're welcome to join me in classic.
Don't be
I will also
intimidated by
not
me.
be trying to do crazy amounts. Because Mouse has the miraculous ability of like writing that many words and having them be good, and I don't know how, but
Where's my like office close up so I can just be like, no. So yeah, so Heart Thief is the plan. Melancholia Theory, if I get very lucky. If not, just finish it up afterwards.
What is Melancholia Theory?
Melancholia Theory is a prequel to the other two Melancholia books. Why did Melancholia turn into a 3-book series? I don't know how we got here.
You just wanted to elaborate on your awesome characters.
It was never supposed to be a 2-book.
Yeah, like there was supposed to be one, and then now there's way more than one. So it follows Volt, everyone's favorite master of shenanigans.
Baby Volt.
Baby Volt.
Baby Volt.
And by Baby Volt, I mean like depressed 20-something Volt. Because I'm 30 now, basically, and I can say that 20-year-olds are babies. But yeah, it follows him and how he ends up dealing with the Shade World and all that kind of stuff. It too will have beautiful monster illustrations by our beloved Reshi, because they are the bee's knees.
Mm-hmm.
They are the best knees of the best bees. Oh, hi Tracy. Hello Tracy. Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Tracy actually did the cover for Melancholia Effect.
yes, that's amazing.
And it's amazing, and she'll be doing the cover for Melancholia Theory whenever I get off my ass and finish it.
Pichu. Baby Volt.
Ooh.
Pichu.
Oh.
Baby Volt.
I think Baby Zig would be Pichu. Yeah, so those are the upcoming projects. The
Eventually
ones,
products.
yeah, eventually projects. The ones that you'll for sure see this year are going to be Heart Thief from me, and Len the Dog from you, and
Wild.
Wild for
Wild
sure.
Ride.
Wild Ride for sure. Will all be available at some point this year. All of those backup projects will hopefully also by this time next year, but like, I mean, we'll see what happens.
I'm crossing my fingers for Len the Dog because it's a Christmas story, and I would love to put it out for Christmas.
I would love to read about Christmas murders.
Christmas murders.
Also, you guys feel free to ask questions about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we always
love
take.
questions.
We have a bunch of regulars in chat here, so you guys know that we always take questions. If they're not questions that you've already asked us, but if you want to have a discussion with the admins in all one spot, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We love discussions.
You got us on the spot. We can't escape. Right?
Yeah, we can't run off.
Oh, hi, Nicole.
Is Nicole one of yours?
Yes, she's one of mine.
Hello, friend of Alexa's. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to the party. So. Did you see the mistletoe and knives comment?
Yes. Mistletoe and knives.
That's my kind of Christmas. We actually have a discussion to have about what to do when your manuscript, when the book that you're working on, finds you in a dark alley and kicks your ass.
It just hands you your butt.
It hands you your own butt. Because both of you guys have struggled with that a lot this past year.
Yes.
So, do you guys want to tell us a little bit about why you ended up struggling with these works and like the way that you have navigated it? Because both of you also found renewed vigor. So yeah, did you want to talk about that a little bit? 'Cause I think a lot of people end up in that ditch at some point.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So I wrote Clearest Blue last year for Nano, and I ended up writing the entire book over the course of 75,000 words. However, it needed a lot of work because it's a Nano project, of course. And also, I think I wasn't quite as prepared as I would have liked to be. Several things happened. I kind of lost sight of my main character from what I intended her to be.
Because compared to other projects, you had less work done on some of these characters, right?
Some of these characters I had never written before, so it was kind of hard to get into writing them. So I did finish the manuscript. I wasn't happy with it. You haven't even seen it.
No, that's how you know that Ace is profoundly unhappy with something he's produced, is when I'm not allowed to look at it. And I've been begging for a year.
People have seen bits and pieces of it, and like there are parts of it that I'm really happy with.
We have a question that says, what does manuscript mean in this context?
So when I say manuscript, I just mean my first draft.
One full front to back written version of the book.
Yeah.
So that's what we mean here. Sorry, keep going.
So anyway, I wrote this book, and then I wrote the first draft, and then I said, okay, I'll get back to it in February. Mm-hmm. And February came around, and I was like, oh, March. March seems pretty good.
Which is the story of my
and
life
then,
right here.
June happened, and like the goal was to get it out before Anime Midwest, and that didn't happen. And then the goal was, let's get it out for CAD, and that didn't happen. Mostly because I did actually start editing it in February, but I got about 1,000 words into the first chapter, and I was like, there's too much. There's too much wrong with this.
So you were just overwhelmed.
I was completely overwhelmed because not only, like I said, I basically wrote my main character wrong throughout the entire book. Wrong in that I wrote her differently than I intended. And I don't think it came off quite as well as I'd hoped. So I just did nothing with it for a long time.
You did a lot of screaming.
I did a lot of screaming. I think it took me 6 months to edit the first chapter.
Meanwhile, I was seeing art, slowly coming out for this book, and I was getting hyped.
No, everyone in the chat is hyped. And there are like a lot of things, like I really love my villains. My villain chapters, I could probably leave them in the book as they are right now, and they would be fine. But I had a lot of structural problems. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do that I hadn't done in the draft. And so what I did, or what I started doing in this last 2 months ago, when I started like picking it up in earnest and going, okay, I actually want to edit this, is I started with the outline again. Because I hadn't changed my outline from when I wrote it for Nano, or the edits I made during Nano. And I knew roughly, you helped me figure out some of the problems that I had. That's one thing I can say is sometimes it's good to get an outside perspective.
There was a lot of you sitting there being like, how do I reconcile these things?
Because I knew a lot of things were wrong, but I didn't necessarily know what had caused those things or what was wrong.
You knew where you wanted to go, just not how to get there at some point.
So I started with the outline, and really once I figured out that like my main character Fee had all these issues, I said, okay, well, that at least helps me figure out where my outline can go then. Mm-hmm. So I started with my outline and actually created a brand new outline. That was your suggestion.
Yeah.
Because working from your existing outline can be a daunting task sometimes because you're afraid to change things or something. So I started a brand new document and I carried over bits and pieces that I knew would carry over. And then I basically rewrote the rest of it. Mm. And that kind of reinvigorated me. Also, like, our WAD chat has been very good at inspiring me to continue.
Bless the squad. Literally bless the squad at every possible instance because
it inspires all of us.
Yes, we are all better people for your support at all times. Like, you guys are the best. We wouldn't get anything done.
But yeah, and it's still in process. Like, I'm still editing it. I still haven't gotten that far. That's mainly not because I got stuck again, but because I wanted to make sure that I was prepared to write Wild this year. Mm-hmm. This Nano, I'm not going to go so fast because I realized that was part of my problem last Nano is I feel too pressured to just put whatever down to get to the goal, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
There's a fine balance between getting things on the page because you can't edit a blank page, and between rushing to do that so you put down things that need more work.
And the other thing is I had my previous Nano I wrote Melancholia Effect, and that one I only did 50,000 words, and I did it much slower. It took me maybe 2 hours a night to get all my words, whereas opposed to normally I could maybe do it in an hour. but that went much smoother. So now, having done both years back to back, I can look at these experiences and go, oh, the first year was much better, so I'm going to do
Aim
something
for a
like
system
that.
like that.
I also went through something like that where in prior years where I was just writing as fast as possible to get the words down, if I went back and looked at it, I wound up like cutting out a ton of it just because I felt like it wasn't the best quality I wanted to put down. But last year during Nano, when I was writing the first half of the Mothman book, I was taking it a little bit slower, actually thinking about what I wanted to put down. And so it worked a lot better for me. I was a lot happier about the quality coming out of it.
Did you want to tell us a little bit about your roadblocks with Lund the dog and how you got to the point now where you pick that back up again?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
We'll get to Jack's question in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I acknowledge it. But.
Jack, good question about using Nano to edit. If we don't get back to that after Alexa answers this, then yell and we'll get back to it.
So I wrote Lend the Dog a Tenor for Nano 2 years ago. It was my project. And for Nano, I do one of two things. Actually, one of three things. Either I sit down and force myself to write in the euphoric first few days where I have this idea and the energy is good. Number two, I'll do Poke Nano, in which I buy, the obligatory Pokemon game that comes out every November, and I write 100 words according to every Pokemon battle. Or I take a few days off, get really desperate, and I decide to voice to text about 5,000 words.
Sometimes you do all of these things.
Sometimes I do all of them at the same time. But when I do voice to text, I like it because it's a little bit of a different medium than typing. And for my brain, I found that I really kind of interact with literature in a very auditory way. Like, I get through books faster if I can get them on audiobook. I guess the same thing is that I can speak my story into either my voice recorder or voice to text, and I'll get a lot more words down. I can't say they'll be perfect, but, it's a rough draft. So I was letting Lend the Dog a Tenor rest for, a year and a half before I guilted myself into picking it back up. And I was editing the word salad that was the voice to text chapters. I got, that big Nano chunk done. And I didn't know what I was going to do for the rest of the book. I knew who done it, I just didn't know how I was going to get there. So, literally a month ago, I found out that he was outlining, the second version of A Clearest Blue. And when I heard that, I thought, he's doing that. I should at least be able to finish Lend the Dog a Tenor.
I'm glad I inspired you by putting my book off forever.
Well, that's why I wanted to let you talk first, because I wanted to follow up with, how you inspired me to finish my stuff. So I took a notebook and I went outside to take my cat for, her daily walk around our yard.
Your spoiled princess cat.
My spoiled princess brat. And during an hour and a half, I sat down with the notebook and I just did my hairball method of putting down all of the ideas that I had for the ending of the book. By the time that was done, I knew what I was going to do, or at least knew the majority of what I was going to do. And so over the last month, I wrote 750 words a day because I am, part of a site called 750 Words that'll encourages you to write on a daily basis, and it can be whatever. So I used that, and I kind of slowly, inched my way through this last part of the book. When I was coming here yesterday, I decided to record the rest of the book while I was driving, hands-free, so I wasn't, doing this.
You were
yeah.
driving.
And so all I have to do now is transcribe the rest of the book, and it'll be done in, I would call it the second draft. You know, at least for the first part of the book, it's the second draft. For the last part, it's the first draft. But now I'm going to be editing it all. And hopefully in the next couple of months, it'll be, you know, human consumption able.
I am so excited to read it.
I am wearing a flower ring with the asexual colors. Purple, silver, and black. Yeah, Mom asked a question.
Oh, an apple ring. It's not an apple. It's a
flower.
flower.
Okay, tips for Nano.
For editing during Nano. And Jack asks us
Have you
this.
done that before?
I want to say yes.
I want to say you did.
The problem is that I'm a crazy person.
You are a crazy person.
Only live in the moment. But Jack is, as far as I know, going to be working on Pirate and the Princess, which is a book that I'm really excited to read. But in order for me to read it, it has to be edited so it can come out. I would say start with the basics. Set yourself, you know, a daily goal, because you obviously can't do your 1,600 words every day.
Yeah.
So break your book down in measurable amounts. Start with your usual editing rules of thumb. Start with your big pieces and then move to your smaller pieces. Look at your story structure and be like, okay, today I just want to make sure I have my basic story beats where they're supposed to be, and then you move down from there and be like, is this scene as effective as it could be? Is this chapter as effective as it could be? But it is hard to pace editing like that, so you're really gonna have to do some experimenting and find a system that works for you.
There is also later on in the year. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I can.
April and July has Camp NaNoWriMo. It's the same organization that holds NaNoWriMo, except it lets you have the freedom to choose your project, and they do have an hourly setting where you can say how many hours you'd like to work on your project.
That's another way.
That's a good way to do editing.
That's actually, yeah. So even if you don't wait till then, even if you just mark it by hours now, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna spend 50 hours on editing, and that's gonna be your goal for the month. Or you want to do more than that. You want to do less than that. Doing it by time is definitely not a bad idea.
Yeah. What you can do if you want to make it measurable, think about if you've done Nano in the past, think about how long it would take you to write your words, and then commit that time to editing.
Yeah.
So if it takes you 2 hours normally to get your 1,600 words, then you can just say, okay, I'm going to edit for 2 hours a day.
Yeah, I'm going to aim for 60 hours of editing this month, because that would be 2 hours every day. Because that's really the struggle with aligning editing with Nano, is that you really do work from the big stuff down to those smaller pieces. So doing it by so many words isn't really going to translate the way you need it to.
Yeah.
I think time is a great idea. I would prepare for it just like we're preparing for Nano. We're preparing to draft, and we have outlines of varying sizes and styles. But make yourself like an editing to-do list. Make yourself a list of goals, things that you know you need to do in the order you know you want to do them. Because being without direction in Nano is how you die. It is. That's how you get murdered in NaNoWriMo. You find yourself directionless.
Also, I want to stress, I know this isn't a topic, but I want to stress, if you're doing Nano, if you're not going to hit 50,000 words, if you fall behind, that's fine. Even if you write 500 words a day, or 200 words a day, or 100 words a day, that's still better than if you didn't write it all that day.
It is absolutely better.
No, don't worry. We hate outlines too, but we use them because they help.
Max is up in here being like, oh, outlines. And it's like, no, we feel you.
Yes.
No one on this couch likes outlines. But yeah, that's the other thing too is I tend to overachieve for Nano. And I don't know how I got to be that kind of person, but I don't know that I like it. And you tend to set your bar a little bit higher. But we do that because that's the kind of style we've fallen into. There are a lot of people for whom that doesn't work. You were just saying that you don't think that aiming higher produces better quality work for you.
Yeah. No,
so if your goal is 50,000 words, if it's 30,000 words, if it's 20,000 words.
Absolutely don't let the month go dissuade you.
Yeah. Also, screw the rules.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of there being rules for this kind of stuff. So don't. It doesn't matter.
Part of my mentality for wanting to do the classic nano, I know I could shoot forward, for more, but I really want to make a habit for myself, and I want to write outside of November. At least that's my thought process every year. And then that crashes, but the next year I'm ready to try again.
Nicole has a question. What is the best plan of attack for nano when all you have is an idea?
Pants it. Well, I mean, outline it, then pants it.
That's really going to vary depending on what kind of creator you are. Some people really like pantsing, where they just take an idea and they just...
Mm-hmm.
The reason I don't like that idea is because I hate editing. So...
If you're planning to publish this as a book,
mm-hmm.
like, we're all talking from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You, in fact, are ML here in
Wonderful
Milwaukee.
Z, beautiful, wonderful Z.
Z writes so many words and doesn't publish them, and that's fine. But that also means she can get away more with doing the pantsing thing, because you don't have to really make sure that it's...
If you're writing for yourself to cultivate a habit, to just enjoy the act of creating, if you are using it as a focus for journaling, all those kinds of things, you don't really have to worry about like cohesion and editing and that kind of stuff, and you shouldn't worry about those things, and you should do it because it's fun. If the end goal is a book, then we urge some planning, because editing sucks. And you want to save yourself from that if you can.
So if your plan is that you want to write this as a novella or a book or something like that, I would encourage trying to flesh out your idea a little more, trying to make some kind of outline, even if that's just bare minimum plot points, because that will help, because that'll stop you from getting 3 days into Nano and going, I'm already halfway through my content that I had planned.
If you're having trouble like developing your idea, like you said that all you have is an idea, feel free to talk to somebody else about it. You can always do my method, where you just kind of take a piece of paper and cough up a hairball of the idea that you have, and sometimes, that uses a different part of your brain. So literally, you may come up with different ideas. You may develop it as you're writing.
Alexa's really good at the hairball method. The putting everything on a page and then figuring out the parts of the story from there. And you're right, like, if you need someone to work out your book with, we're right here.
There's all of us. We have a Discord for just that.
So yeah, like, there are people and resources available to help you with that. But yeah, like, normally I would stress some kind of preparation, some kind of an outline, depending on what kind of style works for you.
Yeah.
If you don't know what style works for you, now is the chance to find out. You can't do it wrong. You can just do it slightly less than perfectly, and then you'll figure it out from there for next year.
Also, if you start working on your Nano project and it turns out to be smaller, it turns out to be a short story or whatever, that's fine.
Tragedy, you have a short story.
You can write, even if you stop that short story and just write that, that's fine. If you want to write a bunch of short stories for now, that also, like we said, there are no rules really.
Yeah.
No, the website will try and tell you the rules, but the website lies. Also, the website might not try to tell you anything, because right now it's barely working.
Yeah.
The website is.
We have opinions on the website, just like everyone else.
This year, I'm technically breaking a rule, because theoretically you're supposed to start with a new idea the 1st of November. Well, I'm using it to continue my book from last year, so I'm breaking.
I have 2 chapters of hard
rules.
thief written. It's fine. It's fine. The Nano police aren't going to find you. They only work as well as the website.
Oh, hi, Uncle Joe.
More people. Hello. So yeah, some kind of preparation, and the amount will vary. The style will vary. We still have Nano prep stuff available from last year on the website, wordsafterdark.net, until the website changes. But all of that's available if you want to see the Milwaukee region ML's notes for how she does nano and all of her resources that are applicable to basically anywhere.
And the L stands for municipal liaison.
Yes, it does. Sorry, I'm lazy.
It's basically the leader of a regional group.
The ringleader of the Milwaukee Circus. So that's up there, and then our panels from our prep thing are up there, along with a bunch of different kinds of outlining styles. Or like honestly message us.
Mm-hmm.
And I know specifically, Nicole, that you're a friend of Alexa's, but like any of us, we're not spooky.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
we're all great here.
Alexa's eyeshadow is pretty daunting.
Well, this is just because it's Halloween and that's my time.
It's beautiful, but you'll notice that unlike last year, we don't have any decorations up.
Yeah.
Because everything that I attached the decorations to last year is gone. So we just have our beautiful map of Hollownest. But yeah, like last year we had like lights and stuff, which I don't have any way to hang them now, so we don't have them this year. We'll get Halloween decorations next year. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, these questions have been excellent. You had other questions prepared for discussion.
I have questions I can pull up.
We can do this. But no, these questions have been excellent. Yes. Keep them coming if you got them.
This thing is not sponsored by Dr. Pepper.
No, wouldn't that be great? Give us that sweet, sweet Dr. Pepper money. Max says, justice for Johnson. For those of you who don't know, Johnson is our beautiful skeleton. He used to hang all year round in seasonal clothing on our porch until the apartment got mad at us for it. So he's outside in his shark costume right now.
I don't remember if we had this question last year, but I think it's a good one.
We can rehash it if it's a good one. Maybe we're different people from last year.
Over the years, what would you say has improved significantly in your writing?
This is a good question. We could probably do this question every year.
Yeah.
Answer it.
No, you never answered first.
Okay, what's the question?
So
how has my writing...
Over the years, what would you say has improved significantly in your writing?
One of the biggest things that pops out to me is that I used to use a lot of passive voice in my writing. So, like, I was able to, he had been able to. That was kind of a very big plague upon my writing, which, I love passive voice. It, can emphasize something if used, here and there, but, like, it would be everywhere. So I had to consciously move away from that into active voice, which is basically I walked instead of I had walked down the gangplank.
And yeet yourself into the ocean.
And I had yeeted myself into the ocean. So there's that. I'm always trying to use more sensory images in my work, so it's not just like how things looked, how things sound. Using very like distinct descriptions. You'd be surprised how much of a scene can be set if you throw in like what smells your characters, like smelling at that time. Like if they're at a feast, what kind of dishes are they picking up on? It can say a lot of things about your character, and it really helps the reader to have a vivid image in their brain about what's going on. So I'm always looking to do that. I don't always succeed, but I try to, like put in more words, like when I'm editing or when I'm drafting.
A friend of mine, a friend of Ace's in chat would like to note that he has been yeeted into the sun. And I would just like to note that I will continue to yeet him into the sun at every possible opportunity. But no, I think those are good goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't read enough of your old work, although I'd love to.
I have a fanfiction.net account.
Give it to me. Where passive voice was an issue for you. I know you're not the only one. I know there's at least one other person in the squad who has struggled with passive voice.
If you reread All Bite, like I did a lot of carving out of the passive voice out of there, but there are still a lot of places where it comes up a lot, where I'll have been writing in passive voice.
Where you wrote in passive.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
A live example.
I want your fanfiction.net account.
I could give it to you. I'm not ashamed. It's part of my history. Don't ask me to read it, but I'll give it to you.
And you have to give me Ace's old nano project.
Nope.
Once I find it, I know it's somewhere at my parents' house, and I'm always on the look for it.
I want to read it.
It's somewhere.
Ace.
No. I asked the question.
The reason I don't answer first is because I don't know.
You gotta come up with an answer.
Okay, repeat the question.
Over the years, what would you say has improved significantly in your writing?
I don't know. Nothing. Everything's terrible all the time.
It's not
great.
I mean, I appreciate that. I didn't say it for you to tell me how great it was, but I'll take it.
When we look at our own stuff, it's always going to be terrible to our eyes.
You brought up All Bite, and I was going to bring up something about the way we watch ourselves grow as authors, but like it's true. So I know Baby Mouse used to have a problem with pacing, and I've discussed this with various squad people before when talking about their work and ways they can improve. Is I used to rush a lot, and that was kind of how I fell into the style of the 3,000 word chapters, the 25 chapter setup for books was to stop me from rushing.
And it worked.
Because it did work, because now that's not even remotely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now you might argue that I meander, because I just have too much fun doing things that aren't plot. So I know, like, Baby Mouse rushed a lot. I have gotten way better at punctuating dialogue. I want to say I mentioned that one last year. My inability to end sentences, the end of quotes. Hi, Dewey!
We have our WAD cat coming out of the room.
We might get Grace
WAD.
by the WAD mascot. But that, for sure. Will you come here?
Also,
No,
if you're reflecting on ways that you have developed, feel free to put them in the chat.
Yeah, tell us what you are good at. We want to hear what you used to suck at and what you don't suck at anymore. Tell us.
Continue.
I don't know where I'm going. So pacing, badly punctuated ends of dialogue, which I've gotten way better at. What else? I think not necessarily character creation, but character expression. Because making characters has always been something I've been passionate about. But I think I've gotten better at conveying characters, especially difficult characters, to readers in ways that help them connect with them, especially when those characters can be hard to be connected with. For example, the difference in difficulty between like how long it took me to write Caius versus how long it took me to write Haston. Because they're both characters that are hard to emotionally connect with for different reasons. But I definitely think that I learned from that experience and I can do it a little better now when it comes to writing characters that aren't easy. And I still have issues with like the way Haston is written in Lost Names, but like that's why it's getting a sequel. I mean, that's not why, but it is getting a sequel. But yeah, there's a couple of things that I suck less at now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
No! Come on! I'm gonna tell you something different. No!
Something I've significantly improved on. A couple things, I guess. Pacing is definitely one of them.
I was gonna say, I thought someone else said pacing on there, but I hallucinated it. Continue.
Pacing is definitely one of them. Mostly because I started using outlines.
Who would have thought?
I think my dialogue has gotten better when I look back at my old works. I think my dialogue has always been good, but I've gotten better at differentiating different characters.
At voice and stuff.
Yeah. Because you could, looking back on some of my older projects, my unpublished stuff, you could see the ace in the character. You could see the character and go, oh, that's an ace-laden character. And that's not a bad thing, but I think my characters these days stand more apart from each other, which leads to better books.
Yeah.
People are different.
More dynamic characters.
You said that's how you felt about the original Odd.
We don't talk about the original.
We will. We'll talk about the original. I have a
copy too.
I have a copy in the other room. We can talk about the original one.
Another thing I've improved at, and I don't know how I improved at it, is writing short stories. And I have no idea.
I know how you
Well,
improved
it's
at it.
because we've had prompt,
I mean, yes, but that doesn't.
a flash fiction.
Because you've practiced.
Yeah.
Because you've decided you like doing prompts and you've given yourself the freedom to only write that much.
Mm-hmm. The mascot has come closer.
But she won't come on the couch because there's no room. Hi! All of you have seen her. There's pictures in chat of her all the time.
She's just despairing that she can't
Hi.
come on the
Come
couch.
here.
She's fine. But no, like you've given yourself the freedom to not have to write a full book every time you sit down to write.
Yeah.
And thus your short stories have gotten better. There are a couple of really good comments in here of things that people have improved on. Jack says that she's also improved on taking her time and writing what she wants to impress on the reader, instead of rushing the process and not giving the readers the right impression. And I think that's, like, pacing is such a huge deal.
It is.
And
it's so hard to.
Definitely.
Like,
when you start writing, like, how do you learn pacing?
It's not something that you can just go, oh, I'm going to have good pacing.
No, like, you can't do it. You can only do it by sucking at pacing for a really long time and then unlearning how to suck at pacing.
Some of the feedback I've gotten, especially with the first draft of Lend the Dog a Tenner, was that I would have a scene and then I would start the other scene, and like sometimes the transitions would feel very sudden to some people, so I'm trying to figure out how to make that better. I guess that's just a result because in my mind I see like a group of dialogue or a scene in my head, and then I just want to get from point A to point B so I can continue the plot.
You just smash cut everything.
Yeah.
You just here and then here and then here and then no transitions. But no, transitions are hard. How do you get from this thing you want to write to that thing you want to write, and how do you make that feel natural? So like that's there's people in chat who like my 3K rule, and I don't know why it works. I can't take credit.
I also love it. Yeah.
I don't know why.
What is the 3K rule?
The 3K rule is that your chapter is going to be around 3,000 words. And I find that if my chapter has one major idea and like one minorish idea, if I write a chapter and make sure it's around that long, then I don't rush. And I don't know why that's the magic number.
It just works.
But it does.
For us. It doesn't have to.
My chapters are a little bit more organic just because I don't know, that's just the way I do it. Because I don't outline by chapter to chapter. I do the hairball method, which means that, I'll have main ideas all over the place. So usually I just kind of feel out the chapter, and if one chapter feels a little too long, I'll shorten it up or put a break in it here. So
I found that if I was like, no, I can't be done this scene until it's this long, that I made my scenes more interesting to fill that space. And that worked out for me in the end.
Without overly padding it.
Yeah, because you find stuff that should be there. Jack points out that it's like learning to feel the count of music versus having to manually count it. And it really is. Because you get a sense for how things are moving after writing for a while, and you realize that things are moving too fast or not fast enough. But that's a thing you have to be made aware of, and then you have to practice it, and it sucks. Because writing is work.
Writing is work.
I have more questions.
Yeah, sure. Hit us.
Next question is, how is your writing style different from other writers?
These are really good questions, and I wish I didn't suck at answering questions.
Honestly, I feel like I play a lot of video games, especially for the story. So I'll find myself kind of writing my dialogue the way you would see it in a video game, or I describe scenes, I see them in my head, so that kind of affects, I feel like, my style.
Can I posit a question to you?
Sure.
Are there other reasons to play video games?
Well, there's multiplayer. There's, playing with friends. There's Gardenscapes, which is, doing thousands of levels of matching just so you can renovate a fantasy garden.
But no, I think we pull from our major influences, right? So one of your major influences is the way stories written in games versus the way it's written in novels.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting thing to know. So how do you think that expresses itself?
I wonder if that might have something to do with, the scene transitioning, because, you'll have a scene in a video game, and then you'll watch as the character is running through corridors to get to, the next place. But, instead of describing that,
it's taken as kind of a given, so you don't bother having a narration for it.
Yeah.
That is an interesting connection that we not have made.
So that's kind of how I feel like it's affected me. But at the same time, a lot of my descriptions have come a lot easier because I can imagine them. So I'll especially battle scenes, which we all know here how hard battle scenes are.
Writing action is hard.
You know why they're hard?
Why?
You know why battle scenes are so hard?
I mean, yes, tell me.
Because they have their own pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because they have different pacing than everything else. It's true. It's true. But yeah, was there more?
I think that's it for now.
Look at me again.
Yeah. You can answer this one second.
How's my style different from other writers? Well, my style is very...
Let's do this.
I generally don't like to do a lot of description.
Oh yeah, that's especially world building and stuff as you go.
I generally don't like, so for characters and things, I generally leave a lot of that up to the reader's imagination, because I find that a lot of people will come up with their version of what somebody looks like. Because the thing that's really important to me is how they act and how their personality. That's the thing that I want to get across to people.
We've had discussions about how some characters have a signature thing that you want to express to readers, visually. But other than that,
for
it's really
instance,
not.
Zig, Melancholia, is short and she's blonde. She has short blonde hair. That's all I need you to know. And then I let the reader fill that in. That also goes for location descriptions and things. Some of that I provide. I think that's part of the reason why Clear as Blue has been harder, because it's more fantasy setting, whereas Melancholia was more, it's a dystopia, but it's still modern dystopia. So I have to go out of my way to describe more things.
In Melancholia, you can infer more from your readers' lived experiences in cities versus Clear as Blue, which is Bizarro Fantasyland.
Yes.
Beautiful Bizarro Fantasyland.
So that's one thing. Another thing is I'm very, very character-heavy, dialogue-centric. I think I do my best writing when I'm writing conversations between people. And so that's the kind of stuff I focus on. That's the kind of stuff I find interesting, and I think other people find interesting, is the dynamics of these different characters in scenes. Whereas some books are less about that and more about what, the overarching plot, and that's not to say that my books don't have plot, but it's definitely in the moment it's more focused on this character says this character's witty response back.
You're really good at writing banter. You're excellent at writing characters in a way that makes them very engaging in a lot. Now it's my turn. I don't know what to say. Ways that my writing is different than other people's writing. I strive to make my writing inherently anti-establishment, which sounds way more like a brag than it actually is. What I mean when I say that is just that there's a certain kind of distance or aloofness, or I don't know how to explain, but a separation almost when I read a lot of traditionally published works.
You like to overturn tropes.
I just want my writing to feel natural.
Yeah.
I want it to feel like the reading of it isn't the work. There is work to be done, like emotionally, and when you're engaging in that kind of things, because you want to have. There's a certain amount of active input on the reader and how they imagine things and how they engage with the work. But I never want the work to be someone having to decipher what I've made. You can voluntarily peel back layers in certain scenes and find that there's other things that are implied there and things that are going on in the background. But I don't think that's the same thing.
In other words, the blue door does not represent the depression of humankind.
No! If I want something to represent depression, I will tell you. Because as a person with depression, I'm not going to candy coat it.
So what you're saying is after you're dead and gone and you're famous, you don't want people like psychoanalyzing your books because they'll probably be
in English
wrong.
court
I just think they'll be looking at the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Everything is written to be accessible. I want someone to be able to pick up a book and read it. And I want them, for the most part, to be able to get to the point. I want accessibility in my language and my style, and I want it to be enjoyable. And some people forgo that for a sense of professionalism, but I think that is occasionally misplaced depending on the tone of the work. And my work doesn't usually have that tone.
So many people like to, make fun of the Twilight novels, which I understand because, like, I was an English major. Every one of my English, co-peers like to make fun of Twilight, but it was very accessible. A lot of people got into reading because of the Twilight novels, because they enjoyed the style.
This is going to sound strange, I think, but I kind of want my work to read like fan fiction. Because people voluntarily and often pick up fan fiction just for the sake of it. Just because they know they'll find something in there they like.
Yeah.
And I want it to be that level of unpretentious. Because everything that I'm telling in my story doesn't have to be pretentious for that story to be told.
One thing I really like that you've used, and not to turn this into a discussion about genre, because I don't think that's what I mean, but you recently described your books as adult adventure novels.
Yes, because I'm sick of only YA people getting to have adventures. It sucks and it's dumb. I want grown-ups to be able to have those kinds of, fun, like, not uncomplicated, because they can be complicated. They have emotional investment, but I want them to be able to have fun. Yes, it's important to me. I'm doing a lot of slapping today.
Just because we have, like, adult, sometimes mature themes in a work does not mean that it can't take place in a giant glowing mushroom forest.
Yes, please. Actually, don't have one of those yet.
And it doesn't even have to be like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be Lord of the Rings for adults to be able to enjoy it. Like, that's...
Stone Coast, I think, is a great example where the setting is fairly mundane for a fantasy novel. It takes place in two separate cities, two separate fairly metropolitan cities. But it's just, I want you to be able to date the fantasy person of your dreams. And that's why I wrote it. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
We have a question.
A really good question.
Do you have a specific? Oh, this is from Jax. Do you have specific challenges which try to block your nano, and how do you overcome?
Yes, I have one. It's called work. Oh, my day job.
I've also recently acquired this challenge.
How do I overcome is that I come home from work, and before I do anything else, I write. And if I get my writing done before it's bedtime, then that's when I get to play video games or whatever else. But I make it a priority to get my works done for the day as soon as I get home. Also, part of that is we go to the library a lot because it's much easier, we find, to get yourself in the mood and make yourself motivated to write if you're not in your home comfy space. If you're out and about in the world, then if you go to the library to write, then you specifically know that you're there to write, and it just helps spur you on.
My biggest nano block is probably anxiety. I spend from November 1st to November 30th. I'm a vibrating, anxious mess who runs off of caffeine and no sleep. And I don't recommend that method to anyone. I don't think it lends itself to better nanoing. But my brain is a goblin, so this is my life. So I deal with that usually by sprints are really good because I sit down and I focus on doing one thing. And I don't focus on all the words that are yet to come. I just do the words in front of my face right now. I also need to be told that I'm not dying occasionally, and for that I have Mr. Aethylene to remind me that I'm actually not dying. But focusing on what is immediately in front of me is how I get through nano, because my anxiety tries to eat me alive.
My schedule is very sporadic because I am a pet sitter, which lends itself to I rarely have the same schedule day after day. So sometimes I'll have pockets where I can make myself write 100 words. Sometimes I'll get really anxious because I don't think, even though I have 5 hours between visits, I can't write in that time.
How clean is your house right now?
My floor gets very clean. Like, actually, I found that, for the last week, even though it wasn't nano, where it was just like, I can't write on Linda Dog Tenor when my room looks like this. I have to make my bed every morning. I have to, sort through all of these bags. I have to take that to Goodwill before I can sit down and write. But I generally wait until like the last minute because that's when my biggest motivator, which is desperation, kicks in. And that's when I'll feel like, oh, geez, I have to write something today. So for like the last hour of the day, I'll force myself to, tap something out. But also during the evening hours is when the WAD has our word sprints. And that helps me a lot to get them done at a reasonable hour. But I'm also like Mouse, where I have a lot of anxiety. And after the honeymoon phase of NaNoWriMo's over, after like the first few days or after the first week, where I've, put down the clearest scenes that were in my head, from the beginning. And I'll be like, well, what do I do now?
Second week is always brutal.
Yes.
It is. It is emotionally hard.
Like I said before, my cat likes to take walks outside. And so after, I'm home from visiting cats and I have to, take care of my cat, then I'll do voice to text to start just putting words down in mass without having a self-critical eye. So that's what I do to overcome it. Don't be afraid to explore different mediums.
There was something that came up in that I wanted to address, but I don't remember what it was. It's gone now. But Jack has another good question.
What?
Jack likes to ask, what do you admire about your fellow Wadman's work?
I really like the creativity people use to come up with their characters. Like, there is some dang good variety, just like in powers and personalities.
That's this man's specialty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, what do we specifically like about each other's creations? Is the question. I have an answer because I can talk about their work all day long. So I can answer this first. I really love how introspective Alexa is. You don't when I have problems, I'll just sit there and have problems. When I have anxiety, I'll just sit there and be anxious, just forever, just endlessly. And I don't have the ability to be introspective and to look for those kinds of solutions and I learned a lot from your mental health panel. I learned a lot from like when you talk daily about your struggles with those kinds of things and the way you handle them. And you think about things in a way that I can't. Because I cannot remove myself from the situation enough. I know when I'm doing something a crazy person would do. I don't know how to not do it. So I 1000% appreciate your ability to reflect on those things and to grow in those ways, and they make me a better person. And I love it. And that's not specifically like your fiction work, but I mean, that is your work. Like, you put together the mental health panel, you do all this research, so I appreciate all the nonfiction work you do.
Well, it also helps because a lot of the things that I read asks me those kinds of questions, so I got into the habit of asking myself. And I really should put like those kind of questions in the WAD from now on, and like actually share those things, because I'm sure other people might benefit from it.
In your fiction work, I love how accessible it is. I mean, we just talked about this in regards to my goals for my work, but I love that I can just sit down and just read it, and I don't have to worry. Like, I can just, it's a mystery novel that doesn't put that distance between myself and the mystery. Like, April seems like somebody that I've met before.
I wonder why.
But you did a really good job at portraying her faithfully. It's just, your work has an ease to it that I just fucking love.
I wanted them to be beach read novellas.
I mean, I read them on a beach. I read them both. We made a point of it.
So I specifically wanted those to be just easy, you know, pick it up for an afternoon. You got it, which I like.
Coral.
You might want to look at what you just wrote.
Coral says, please share the thongs, Alexa.
There's thongs.
What Coral meant to say was, please share the things. So, Coral is in Watch Out occasionally, but I also know that other squad would love if you shared those stuff in chat. So please do. I'm gonna laugh about that for 1,000 years. So things I love about Ace Lightning's work. I've been talking about this for 1,000 years. I can do it.
I'm just gonna leave.
Get back here.
I genuinely admire, like, both of you. You're able to, like, bounce ideas off of each other so much. You're able to create worlds, you know. With well, since that is your answer, go ahead.
No, this is the one time. This is the one time. Because normally I'm rather insistent that who speak first. But you know what? Not today. You have your shit together. And I know you're like,
I don't know about that.
But you...
Do you see how much I roll around on the floor when I'm working on it?
I am, in fact, the only person who knows how much you roll around on the floor. I just mean in regards to the way you parse ideas, the way you organize ideas. You have a much easier time looking at the big picture than I do. I really easily get overwhelmed by that kind of stuff. I can only look at one thing at a time, or I'll just like straight up have a breakdown. But you are able to look at the structure of these things in a way where you can see the details, but you're not stuck on those details usually.
Are we talking about the same person?
Yes. But it's really refreshing. The way you talk about your work. I appreciate how honest you are both with me and with everyone else in the squad about your struggles. In your work, there's a spider on the ceiling right over there.
Thanks for
it's very far
it's
from
Halloween. There's our Halloween decoration.
It's very far from it. I keep looking at it. So chat, if you're wondering what I'm looking at, it's the very tiny spider.
Dewey, go get it.
Dewey has never chased a
If I go down, you'll know the spider got me.
But
Poor Mouse's praise got me one too.
Rip. The way you approach ideas. And I mean, like, there's shit I love about your writing too. Like, I love your characters. I love the way you do dialogue. Like, I love everything you make. But I mean, specifically the one weird thing that I know other people would not bring up to you. Because people tell you that your characters are great all the time. Because they are. Because It's a thing that you're good at that you know you're good at. But yeah, the way you approach ideas and the clarity that you have, and I know you're like, but I don't always have this. No, because no one always has their best traits.
I'm doing it for a reason.
But
oh, I know. I see chat. It's definitely me. It's definitely me.
But yeah, so that's I really like that. Of the three of you, who does the most screaming while writing?
That's definitely me.
Is Ace. I do the most screaming overall.
I do the most internal screaming.
Yes. Yes. You don't hear when Alexa screams.
Okay, we have to go back to the other question, though.
Yes. But this was a quick one. I scream a lot, but not specifically about writing. Ace screams the most specifically about writing. Okay, yes. Back to what we admire about WADians. I'm done. I've said my piece. I'm gonna leave.
No. Well, first I'm going to talk about Alexa.
Let's do it. Let's talk about Alexa.
A lot of my stuff is the same that Mouse said. I like Alexa's work because it feels very real.
Yeah.
It feels like some, I'm going to say mystery novels, though I think you could say this about other books too. It's clear that you're reading a book when you're reading. But when you're reading Alexa's mystery novels, it just seems like it's a page out of somebody's life.
Mm.
I'm hanging out with friends.
It's without all the dressings up of a mystery novel. Mm. And I appreciate that.
As somebody who very much enjoys the slice of life genre, then I appreciate that. Thank you.
It shows.
And it makes your books really easy to read, and your characters are really, really amazing.
No, thank you.
And you are really good at writing text message conversations.
You are exactly the only author who can write text message conversations. No one else is allowed to do it.
As for Mouse, I have a lot of things to say.
No, one thing.
No,
you get one thing.
You said a lot of things.
I did. I said one thing.
I mean, I don't think I have to go in and talk about how much I love your characters. I think that's pretty evident to anybody who knows us or knows our work, in that each of our characters are in almost every single one of each other's books.
Speaking of which, you need to make things for me to steal.
Oh, that's because I have a ton of universes.
Genres right now.
Well, I have a ton of universes and a lot of characters. The vast majority of which I've never put them in chat, just because I don't like to interrupt other people's, steal.
I was trying to get out of me.
I didn't mean to do that.
Another thing I really admire is that, I don't know if you realize it, but you write a lot of really difficult characters.
I don't realize anything. Actually.
Because you have people like Hassan, you have people like Kais, and you make it, I know it's not easy, but you make it look so easy to write neuroatypical people, or more complicated than your average person people.
Which is good, because we need more representation.
I appreciate that. As someone who is not neurotypical, I appreciate that I'm not fucking it up. I shouldn't swear. Sorry.
Another thing. Oh, so it's going to sound weird after you just talked about ages and ages. But I was going to say, I really appreciate how simple you make things. And that's not going to sound right. And I don't mean it as a bad thing. But the same where you can look at me and say you appreciate the way that I look at things, I appreciate how, even if it's not easy for you, you make things look really easy.
Which is one of the reasons why everyone seems to think it's really easy.
You make it look really easy. And not only that, but whenever I'm workshopping ideas, I'm very analytical. So what you didn't say when you were talking about how great I am at looking at the big picture and figuring out all the details, is I can't very easily look at the small stuff. A lot of times I get in my own head about, well, what about this plot point? Well, if I change this, then that's going to affect this and this and this and this. And that really restricts me when I'm writing. And usually something, how the conversation goes is I'll be like, I'll come to you and be like, I have this problem I've been working on for a week, and you'll just be like, yeah, do this. And it'll fix the entire thing. And I don't know what it is. It's like you were saying, I don't know how to stop doing the crazy person thing. I know I'm doing it, but I don't know how to stop doing it. And then I talk to you, and it makes things super
I'm happy to help. I love workshopping stuff with people. I mean, I love workshopping stuff with you specifically because we've been doing it for 15 years. But I love workshops.
And then another thing, last thing, I promise, is I know how much work writing is, and I know how much work being supportive of other people are, like how much work that is. And yet you still manage to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And you manage to be the most supportive person.
It's true. You inspire me to be more supportive.
Sometimes like to your own detriment.
Yes.
I'm going to die.
Sometimes to your own detriment. But like that's just, it's something that I really like. Mm-hmm. Is that like I can always count on you being supportive to me. I don't have to worry about people in WAD chat getting support they need because I know you're always there to help them.
Sometimes when me and Ace aren't around, you're interacting with people. So
I like to be the person in WAD, and that's kind of suffered a little bit lately because I've been adjusting to the new job. Mm-hmm. But I mean, thankfully, there's lots of people in WAD to pick up the slack. But
yeah, I know you write as much or more than both of us, and you still manage to be a beacon of light that you are. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
You can really tell these two are married.
I can't cry on screen. I can't. I'm not doing it.
I will let the audience know again if you have like thoughts, like if you want to talk about other WAD creators, feel free to throw stuff out there. Share what works for you.
Yeah, we did a couple of talks about like the way we handle our issues with Nano. But feel free to leave the way you handle roadblocks with Nano in the comments because other people will probably watch this later and read the comments. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you don't only have to respond to us. You can. But yeah. Did you give yours? Yes. Well, amongst ours, elaborate. Did you want to have the floor for a minute? I hate talking over people.
Well, like I said before, I really admire how you two create worlds with each other, how you get to create, characters with each other. I like your voices. I just really like how you world build, how you put the visions of your worlds into people's heads. That's what I, really admire. I really like your styles and how easy
world building is hard.
Yes.
And I know both of us struggle with getting worlds down on the page in a way that readers will hopefully enjoy them. So like hearing that from you means a lot.
I'm inspired by your, productivity, your work ethic. And I'm inspired by...
Sometimes to your detriment.
I am inspired by Ace's dedication to characters and how you love to develop
That's why I write. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's just what I admire about you two.
I love this specific Mothman. There's no way to show chat what I mean.
It's the knee. It's the knee Mothman.
It's a Mothman. And I just love him, that one. All of them.
Light.
He's just extra funny looking. But yeah, thanks, Jack, for making us get emotional.
Oh, I also think it might be that Mothman right there.
Yeah, this little hunched down Mothman.
Yeah.
He's my favorite Mothman. So now I have to write something really sad for Jack to make Jack cry because Jack almost made me cry. I'm blaming Jack. Yeah, do we have other questions?
I'm sure I can find one.
I can take a minute and just talk about Discord and how much we appreciate everyone in the Discord.
Sure.
Yes.
So the squad, Discord chat, the people that we have met and collected at events or collected from other Discord servers. Because that's my favorite thing to do, is to go into a Discord server and steal the best people and bring them back. But we've been very lucky to have some really excellent people turn up in our chat, and we are very grateful for that. Like Ace was saying that I was a supportive person, but it's not hard to be supportive when everyone in chat is so excellent. And we rarely, one of the things that we really appreciate is that we don't normally have to moderate. People conduct themselves, because largely people conduct themselves very well. They just happen to be, you know, good human beings, or good people pretending to be human beings. And that's fine too, we don't discriminate, but we want to thank you guys for everything and for being great all the time.
Yeah.
You got a question?
Sorry.
Did I distract you?
We never imagined building this kind of community.
No, we really didn't.
When we started the
It was
blog.
kind of an afterthought going into paneling, and
I'll give the short version of the story for anyone who doesn't know it while you're looking.
yeah, sure.
Okay, the short version of how we got here. We went to a panel at an Anime Midwest, and it was a How to Do Character panel, and it was not a good time.
This is before we did any paneling.
Yeah, this was before the WAD. We went to a panel because I love going to other writing panels. I love it. Like way more than Ace loves it. Because he normally gets tired out of them.
I do.
But I love going to writing panels. So this one we went to, we were not just disappointed by, but professionally offended. Wade said the panel was hilarious, and like, you're right, but that's not the point. So
the first year they went to the panel, I had to go to work early, so I wasn't able to join it with them.
Phone.
No, Alexa was doing their best Phoenix
really?
Wright impression and broke their phone before the panel.
I broke my phone before the panel, and so I had to run to a Sprint store and get it.
Yes.
They left within 10 minutes of sitting in the panel, and so I made them take me to it the following year. And then you guys wanted to.
Regretted. So we were mad. And we were like, if this loser is running panels, we can run panels. And we can run panels that are...
Yeah, we're like, we know a lot about writing.
Yeah, we all do a lot of writing, and we can host a panel on like how to make characters and stuff. Like, that's something we could talk about for an hour and help people with. And so we went to go do that, and then we're like, we need a name. Like,
yeah, it was about a week, probably a week before the convention. We're like, do you think we should make a Discord?
Yeah, do you think maybe we should have a place for like people to come find us?
What should we call ourselves?
We need a name. So I came up with a big list, and you guys picked Words After Dark.
We threw it together in Discord.
Yeah, you threw together Discord, and here we are.
Yep.
And it all was kind of slapdash because we just wanted to have a place to talk to people about writing if we didn't get a chance to finish talking to them at the convention.
We never imagined it turning into anything like it has.
No, because now, like, we put out books on the reg, and we're in there and talking to people writing every day, and we have other authors who are doing their author thing and having a great time, and we love it. And we have people who are thinking that maybe they'll never publish things. They'll just want to write for fun forever. That's also totally rad.
Fan fiction is totally legit.
I will fight somebody behind any building in every given country if you think that is not okay. Fan fiction is legit as fuck. But yeah, that's kind of how we accidentally were that dark. Just because we just hated that one panel so much.
Yeah.
I still hate it.
Do you think writing a book series is more challenging than writing a book? How's that face?
Writing a book series, it just demands a lot of consistency. While writing the April Gladys books, I keep profiles on all of the characters, and I try to like keep track of details in between. But you're huge Psy,
This is not the first time
Totally.
tonight where you've asked a question and I've made that face about it, and I make that face because I don't know. So no, like if you have more to say, please continue. Because the answer is that they just pose very different challenges. And one of my biggest problems is writing a book meaning for it to be a standalone and then not having that happen.
You're just gonna have to start writing your books with planned series.
Well, like, Highwind Horizons was a planned series from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, immediately I knew there was going to be more than one book. I knew where it was going, Bangley. I didn't know how many books until a couple of years after I knew that, but I knew it was going to be at least 2 books. But beyond that, I didn't, like, Odd was meant to be a standalone, and it won't be. Lost Names was meant to be a standalone, and it won't be. So I think they have different challenges. And Jack says that if you know you're going to write a series, you should outline what you know of the series.
Definitely.
While you're doing the book. And that's totally true. And I will report that I've done that for Highwind Horizons. And you're doing that for Wild. But sometimes you accidentally a series, Melancholia.
Yeah, in those cases, I think it's definitely more challenging. But I'd say if you're going into it knowing you're going to have a series, it's not necessarily more challenging. You just have more work to do.
It's just a different kind of challenge.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily harder, because writing a series is no more harder than writing more than one book, which is just the same challenge.
If you have 2 books that may have different plots and different characters, but they take place in the same universe, you might want to write down the mechanics of the universe and like put that down just to keep it consistent, within the same.
I did that with Ashen Path and Stone Coast, where it's 2 things that take place most in the same city. But the good news was that there's virtually no mechanics for me to keep track of because it's a low fantasy novel and I'm lazy.
It also really, really depends on how coupled your series is.
Yeah.
Because Highwind Horizons, I think, is more loosely coupled than Wild.
Wild happens like back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
Whereas
the
Highwind
books
Horizons
in
is a lot more
Wild
relaxed.
directly happen because of the previous book.
Because of what happened immediately previous
Yes.
too. Like it's not.
Whereas Highwind, you could read the second book and not have read. I mean, you're probably going to be able to read the second book of Wild and not have read the first book. That's not my point. But the second book could have happened without the first book in Highwind. Is what I mean.
Yes. That stops being relevant, I think, the further you get into series.
Yes.
But you do sometimes have that flexibility in the beginning.
The
Because I was just thinking
more
about that.
coupled it is, the more you have to deal with because you have your story structure for your normal, and then you have an overarching series structure, and your major points in your story is going to affect your arc in your series. So if it's more tightly coupled and things happen one after another, at least from my experience, you have to do more pacing.
Yeah, you have to plan more.
You have to plan more, but I don't think it's any harder.
Which is exactly what I experienced with the dog walking series, because each of those books are taking place in fairly chronological order throughout a year. Same characters.
It all happens in a year?
Well, around a year.
Oh my god! Poor April!
Yeah, she's starting to feel it in the 3rd book.
God. My poor perfect daughter. She's never done anything wrong in her life. She doesn't deserve this shit.
23 years of no murder, and then suddenly
5
murders.
That's too many murders. We can't afford any more felonies in this episode. But yeah, no, absolutely. I'm looking forward to book 3 in Highwind Horizons because that's the linchpin book. That's where things stop being.
Shit gets real.
I mean, so much shit gets real. But that's where things stop being in flux and they really start to be serious and have consequences. Much to everyone's dismay, y'all don't know it, but you're gonna be dismayed.
Tears.
Tears will happen.
Tears
Tears will happen if I don't fuck it up. But we'll wait and see.
Tears happen when I drafted that book.
Yes,
for you,
yes,
so.
that's true.
If I can make Mouse cry with it, Mouse will make
If
everyone
Baby
else
Ace,
cry.
because that was many eons ago. But yeah, not harder, just different. I think is the overall consensus. How did Pain get in here and I didn't see that? Pain.
That was a while ago.
Sneaky. But yeah, hello everyone who's joined in the interim. Hi.
Hello.
We did a lot of talking about.
Because you don't see people joining me.
I don't. I only see them. We've done a lot of craft talking so far, which is.
We've talked a lot about our projects. For
Yeah, what
anyone
we're
new,
doing for
feel
Nano.
free to talk about yours for Nano. Like,
Yeah.
we're all interested to hear what you're planning on writing for Nano, so feel free to put that in
Anything
chat.
I've missed in the comments, I'll be going back to read. So tell us what's up.
I have another
question.
Have you ever written a character based on the real you in some part?
April.
We'll start with the obvious.
April takes a lot of my life experiences and a lot of my personality, but to me, she's a very different person. So, like, we both share the same, job. I was a dog walker in Chicago. Some things that happened to me happen in the book. It's directly inspired from stuff that happened to me. I didn't find any dead bodies. But
Did you hook up with any YouTube personalities?
I wish.
This is Alexa fan fiction. I don't know.
Sorry.
I basically put April through a lot of stuff that I didn't have to, and it's fun because I get to see how I would have reacted, or to see how April reacts differently than what I would. It's just a lot of fun to play with.
I love both of you very much. You're both my favorites.
April was cute.
But yeah, so no, like April pulls pretty heavily from your life.
But I also have a lot of characters who, urban fantasy, a lot of fantasy characters who are very much not like me.
If you write the Mothman, does that mean you are the Mothman?
Oh, that's the stand-in for me.
In that book, that's your author stand-in of the Mothman. So, have I written a character that has drawn heavily from myself?
Yes.
The answer is simultaneously every single character and none of them. I have a poorly conceived idea of what constitutes myself. And I'm not sure how one remedies that, because that's a weird problem to have. But because I struggle with that, I don't see myself in characters. Not intentionally. There are a lot of characters that I connect with, and that I find that I have, emotional things in relation with them. And I do that on purpose, because I think a lot of my experiences, I have a lot of stuff to work out, and I definitely do that through my characters, like emotionally.
Writing is therapy that you get to profit from.
I mean, the profit is yet to be seen, but the therapy cannot be denied. So I don't always know what it is about characters that I connect with, and if I know what it is, I don't always know why. But I can say, like, a lot of my characters I connect with very deeply, even if I can't put the mechanics of such into words. Like, I can't be like, we have shared experiences, because that's never true. But that the emotional connection's there.
You don't necessarily have to have shared experiences.
Yeah, I'm just saying that Alexa and April are a fairly, like, you can see that. If you know Alexa and you read the dog walking books, you can be like, oh, I can see shades of Alexa and April. And that's not a bad thing, because that was the intent.
Yeah.
You did what you intended to do. But, like, I can't always make that, like, one-to-one comparison. But the connection is still there. The intent is still there.
Me.
Me.
I don't have anyone, I think, that directly. I definitely have people that are parts of me.
Casual.
Both,
actually.
Stop taking my answers.
Can't
Who's answering this question?
Cassie is. No, wait. Who was the one in Odd? I never mind.
Y'all I'm just gonna let you.
No. We got excited.
I definitely have a lot of characters that draw from different parts of me. Casual, very sarcastic. I'm very sarcastic. Volt draws from me. Kieran from Odd draws from me. Cass from Odd draws from me. Monday draws from me.
I promise, you are always more useful than Kieran.
Everyone.
Always. You are always more useful than Kieran.
Kieran is a useless but perfect boy.
He's both useless and perfect.
But yeah, I have a lot of characters that draw different parts from me.
Yeah.
It's like Kieran is one of my oldest characters, so he's probably the closest to like stand-in that I would have. But even he is very different than he's way more cheerful than I am.
He's grown, I think, from what he was originally written as.
Yeah.
Because I remember old Kieran.
Yeah.
And old Kieran is not the same as odd Kieran.
Well, and then you have like Roxy, who draws from me.
Yep.
A drum.
You're a drum.
She's a drum. But yeah, I don't think there's anyone specific, but I like to think that all of my characters are part of me. That's kind of the point. But they're different people. They're not. They aren't me.
Mm-hmm. Compare and contrast two outspoken redheads, Meg and Roxy, who I can see shades of you in both, just very differently.
Yeah.
I'm not excited. I just love your characters.
Just answer all my questions.
We love the characters.
I will say, in one of my upcoming projects, Raven's Hill Dark, it's the paranormal dating sim, I specifically designed the main character to be he has a personality, but he's also kind of a blank slate. And as I was kind of trying to write for him, like the first part of the script, I could see where my own personality was coming through, and I was like, hey, that's the blank slate we're getting.
I hope you know that if you hand me this character, what you're going to get back is fanfiction.
I'd be delighted.
Because that's what happens.
I would devour...
If you hand me a character with half a personality, a la, like Persona, where you're supposed to embody part of the character, that's what will happen. The product will be fanfiction.
And I will also devour all of it.
Good. Good. We have an accord.
My biggest dream is to have fan works of my own stuff, and I will probably read all of it.
I will give you this. Write me Mothman so I can give you Mothman fanfic.
Will do.
What is your motivation for writing more?
Desperation.
Can we preface this by saying
we're all terrible people?
That all of our answers are not necessarily things that you should seek?
Yeah.
Because we are not telling you to go out there and get desperately invested in your writing so that you feel like you have to write. That's not the advice. Because my answer is spite.
That's also money.
And the reason it's spite is because I find I have a hard time holding on to positive reinforcement. You should write, in an ideal world, you will write because it makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you should write for yourself more than anything. And writing does make me happy. But that it makes me happy is not enough. And I don't know if that's just because writing is hard work or if it's because I have depression or both. But writing for strictly positive reasons is not enough for me. It won't carry me through that. I write the most when I'm mad at something. And the good news is that there's lots of shit for me to be mad at. So yes, my answer is spite, and it works for me because it fills that gap that's left by where positive motivation probably should be. I don't know what your excuse is.
I'm in some way fueled by spite. Same thing. If not only because if this person who's doing all of this wrong can do it, I can surely do it.
Yeah, so you can do it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. If you find somebody who you really don't like, then just bury them with your own words.
And like maybe that's not the most wholesome advice for us to give, and we
Yeah.
try to generally be wholesome and welcoming and supportive. But sometimes you have to bury your enemies. And you might as well bury them by bettering
They
yourself.
don't even have to know that they're being buried.
And they don't even have to know that they're your enemy. But if you can bury them by bettering yourself and bettering your work.
If you can turn something negative into something positive for you.
Yeah, then you should absolutely
without
do it.
hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
Like that's
Because
something I want
I was gonna say, us being inspired by spite and motivated to produce books doesn't hurt
to
anybody.
produce the WAD.
Or produce WAD.
As if it wasn't obvious that we were motivated by spite before.
But that doesn't hurt anyone. Even the person who inspired us to do this, as far as I know, like has maybe a bare knowledge of our existence because we shared a convention.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have, like, it shouldn't affect other people negatively.
Yeah.
But you can use that negativity as fuel, and you definitely should have.
But also, it's something that I'm very grateful for, like with the WAD, is I've talked in the WAD about how motivating having people excited about your work is.
On the note of positive motivation.
Yes.
For sure.
Because one of the big reasons that Clear as Blue I even wrote it is because I pitched the idea to someone and they were very excited about it. And that, in turn, excited me about it. And you should write for yourself. I'm not saying only write for other people. But in the times when you're feeling down, like I was feeling down about this book for a year, and yet still was getting, like I would mention it and people would be very excited about it. And that's just very inspiring.
I'm still excited about it.
Yeah, see, I'm inspired. I'm going to work on it right now.
It was the fact that you wanted to redo The Clearest Blue that inspired me,
Yeah.
like I said before.
You want to strike a balance between doing it for yourself, because it should be for yourself at the end of the day, and supporting other writers and stuff, and hopefully getting support in turn.
Yeah.
Because writing is hard work, and it can be lonely. And we really want to take care of one another. And I'm going to take this because it might be important. So keep talking.
One thing that also motivates me is the fact that I go to a lot of bookstores, like Barnes & Noble, like independent, just like previously owned bookstores. I'll walk through there, I'll take books off the shelves, and I won't feel it. I know exactly what I want to read, and I can't find it anywhere. So then I'll go home and then I'll write what I want to read.
It's so hard to find anything what specifically you want to read. So then it becomes, you get motivated to put it out there on your own. I'll go to another question while we're waiting on Mouse. How big of a part does music play in creating your zone, your writing zone?
A ton. I think all three of us can relate to that. We're talking about how music helps in creating our zone.
How big of a part does music play when creating your zone?
Oh, God, all of it. All of it.
Have you written a book that doesn't have a book playlist?
Kind of. Melancholia didn't have a playlist while I was drafting it. But it had, I was still listening to music. Ashen Path, I actually did a lot with film when I was writing it.
Interesting.
Then what did I do? Then I did Lost Names. And Lost Names was 100,000% music, specifically Twerp's The Device Part 2. But music has always been involved, it's just only gotten more involved. The first two didn't have formalized playlists. But I still listened to music when I wrote. I still listened to music when I brainstormed. All that still happened. I've just gotten more organized about it.
I don't make playlists so much as I make scores for my books, because I don't listen to a lot of music with lyrics. So it's just like coming up with like character themes that you know, a lot of people in the WAD can like put out songs that, you know, they feel like directly describes their characters, and I'm more like, well, I have the mood of my character.
That's so valid.
And then I'll like put together a soundtrack that you could listen to while reading the book and
I'm just
get a
not that
feel for the
organized.
scene. But yes, I also listen to a lot of ambience, you know, just like nature sound effects. There are a lot of spooky ambient soundtracks on YouTube that I love to write
Convenient
to.
for someone who writes so
Who
much
writes a lot of
spooky
horror.
ambience, like, to be fair.
And I listen to a lot of video game music. Oh, I think all of us do.
Oh yeah, OSTs are great.
Mm-hmm.
OSTs are excellent. How much Silent Hill do you listen to?
I listen to a lot of Silent Hill.
I knew that
Okay.
was coming.
On YouTube, there are things called like there are silent chill videos, which take all of the, you know, relaxing chill songs from Silent Hill, put them all together. So it's like you're not writing to, you know, a very moody song, and then all of a sudden you have like the ee, and then a couple of Silent Hill tracks.
What?
But yeah, silent chill.
My whole world has been rocked.
Oh yeah.
I need it. I need it.
I put together a lot of character playlists, book playlists specifically for brainstorming. I can't listen to a lot of music with lyrics while I'm actually writing, so I end up listening to focus music or some other sort. Sometimes for specific scenes, I'll find one song that represents the scene and put it on repeat and listen to it from there on. But more often than not, I'm not doing that. So a lot of the times, like, music is part of my process in that when I'm writing, I'm almost always listening to music, even if it's not the music I specifically picked out for that. But it does help me a lot with brainstorming.
Absolutely.
A lot of my brainstorming I do in the car on the way home from work, and I throw on a character playlist and then just sit there in traffic and think about the novel. But yeah, it's definitely an essential part of my process. Let's see if I have any more questions.
We probably got time for one or two more.
Yeah. We got 10 minutes until 9.
And we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
We keep doing this thing. Ace has learned better than I have, but I always plan for like 1 hour streams because I figure, you know, we'll have an hour, we'll give you guys an update. We'll talk about all the new stuff that we're doing this year, the new books coming out, you know, the new website and stuff. Take a couple of questions and that'll be that. And then, like, y'all know better than me, and you guys know it's gonna be 2 hours.
I don't know why you only
like
plan
I've
for
come
1
to
hour.
expect 2-hour streams.
I don't know why I
We do them,
haven't,
what, once a year?
and they're always 2 hours long, and I don't know why I haven't adjusted.
Well, we also have a lot of audience interaction.
Because
So,
you guys are the best.
Yeah.
That says the benefit of having an hour-long commute is the brainstorming, and for sure.
Oh yeah.
What I do also is there's a couple of shifts during the week where I end up at work early, so I'll have music on while I'm cleaning before the store opens. And that helps me.
I have another question.
Okay.
If you had the chance to rewrite any of your books or your unfinished drafts, which would it be and why?
A few years ago, around 2013, I wrote for NaNoWriMo, it was called Winter's Red. It was a retelling of a Little Red Riding Hood, but with the woodcutter as the main character. And he falls in love with a werewolf, and the Red Riding Hood character is an assassin who's trying to kill the werewolf. So looking back at that, good. Well, the first draft, the original, I know right now that almost all of it will be rewritten. When
I'm sure the first draft is terrible. Because first drafts are like that.
Because it's developed so much in the last 5-6 years. So I want to revisit that one.
Like I've been deprived.
Like I say, I have a lot of plots that I've just never talked about. Because I don't want to, you know, like, take time away from anybody else.
No, squad who are in this discussion right now, you're gonna join me in the quest to fucking get elected as because this is what was been hiding from us. We're gonna get you now.
Like, I can talk about it, but, like, I almost need to schedule a time where I'm like, okay, I think we talked about once, like, giving people a block of time to talk about their stuff.
Like, character spotlights and stuff, which is still in development. No, that sounds excellent. Give it to me. If I could rewrite a book or a draft, I think the obvious answer is a book because I can always rewrite a draft. Like, that's considerably less trouble than rewriting a book. Yes, yes. So the obvious answer is a book that exists. I would rewrite Melancholia. First one. And maybe not for the reasons that are immediately obvious. The Melancholia Project is not a bad book. I have grown as a writer since then because I think that's what happens when you write books.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. It's not a poor novel. It still does a lot of things that I'm proud of. But, and some of you in the squad know this, I do not have access to the text of a Melancholia Project anymore. So there are a couple of small errors in the book, because there always are, because that is the nature of publishing, is that you put in a book and somebody goes, oh, like, this thing was formatted weird that you never caught in the 4 times that you checked the book, because that's what it is. And I cannot fix those problems because I do not have the text, and there is no way that I know of for me to recover that text. So I would absolutely, if I could do it quickly and painlessly, rewrite Melancholia Project. Just on the spot so I can have access to that kind of stuff. But other than that, I think it took me some struggle, but I think I've made peace with the growing pains from there.
Well, it was a book novel.
It was
in a very different style.
It is shaped very differently.
Why would you rewrite it? Rewrite it?
There are small things that I would fix. Misprint errors, certain sentences that are not shiny to me, that don't convey things the way I want them to be conveyed now. I don't think it really needs much structural fixing because it was done in a different structure. So I wouldn't be worried about that. But I would absolutely fix it the way it deserves to be fixed. That I cannot do now.
You could always do well, by now it would be the 3rd edition.
Yeah, it would be a 3rd edition.
3rd edition Melancholia.
It would be rough because editing it both other times was super rough.
Then I could get the 3rd edition and say that I have the complete
You have all
of the Melancholia.
So that was the last question.
Did you answer it?
Yeah, I answered.
This man is a lying liar who lies.
Well, I mean, I've only written 1 book, so it's definitely not.
You've written more than 1.
Hey. No, I meant 1 finished book, so obviously it's not going to be.
You're not going to rewrite a book because you're very proud and rightly so.
I am very proud of it still.
No, I meant Odd.
Odd is out.
He doesn't have to rewrite Odd because someone got back.
Yeah, I can't
forum.
rewrite Odd because Odd is already a thing. And
I already
did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have had to pick one project to rewrite, I would probably pick the pirate novel that neither of you have ever read.
Oh.
But heard extensively about.
Because it was a nano project, and it was a seat of the pants nano project.
Was that steampunk?
No.
Oh, okay.
And no, you're thinking of the 3rd book of Hardwood Rising.
Oh, what used to be Advent of Steam, which is now Iron Gate.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, it was I just kind of threw in some of my characters in it. Anna was in it, believe it or not. Roxy was in it.
Mm-hmm.
There were, I want to say, a few others. But everything didn't really mesh really well. It was just kind of a very fun adventure novel about pirates and pirate hunters, and there was some shenanigans, some supernatural shenanigans going on. Shapeshifters and such.
I did read some of this book.
Oh yeah, I think I did.
Because there was a character that showed up that never got a name.
Yes, it was
He showed up in like
the
5 different
Admiral guy.
in 5 different chapters, and he
Because
never
he wasn't supposed to be important, and then he kept showing. I kept needing him. For that.
He kept coming
You know,
back
what
and he didn't
seems to
have
be a
any.
big story with you is that you'll have like characters, actually both of you, you'll have characters that start off small and then they grow.
Oh yeah, believe it
have
or not, Anju
important
was
parts.
not supposed to be important in Melancholia.
Yeah, who would have thought?
And she is. But yeah, I would definitely pick that one because I think it does have potential. It definitely needs more structure, but it was a fun.
So what you do is wait until I've written Iron Gate and then put it out as fanfiction.
Oh!
Because it has Iron Gate characters in it.
Mm.
No, I would probably remake. They were different enough.
But no, it was a fun. It was a fun project. I can see why you would go back to that one. But yeah, we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody who hung with us, whether you
Yeah.
came in from the beginning, whether you came in late. Thank you for giving us your time.
People who are watching this in retrospect.
Yeah,
in the future.
people from the future. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. We will see you at Connell Delete. We'll see you at Amkey. We'll see you at Midwest.
Come join us on Discord.
Come hang out in the Discord if you're not already in there. Talk to us about writing stuff. Is that the lot of it?
I
think so.
Okay.
Happy
Yeah.
Nano to those
Happy
that are
Nano.
doing Nano.
Yeah. Happy Nano. Good luck. And yeah.
Happy Halloween. Get lots of
Happy
candy so
Halloween.
you can
Happy
sugar.
Halloween!
You can sugar fill your Nano experience.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.